casting with you, Nick. I'm so sorry.
I got really scared there. I'm like,
you don't say
I
anything
got something
still.
quiet this entire game. Anyways, guys, game one's ready. Stats vs. Neeb starts now.
5, 4, 3.
No, it's
2,
fine. I'll go. No, it's
1.
fine.
Round of 8. Match 2.
In the bottom left, in the blue, from Korea, he is
Splice. Stats.
He's got to be feeling pretty good right after that Aces ROG victory.
for sure. And in the upper right, from the United States of America, in the red, he is
Ting. Neeb.
Never really occurred to me how long of a country name that is, the United States of America.
That's why we go with USA.
USA.
I mean, it's actually kind of funny that when Neeb won the Casper Cup a long, long time ago, obviously one of his biggest accomplishments in his career, where he has won a lot of things, he did beat Stats in the semi-final back then. So that was kind of like one of the big victories that he got, you know, that brought him to the final. Unfortunately for Neeb, ever since that moment, he never beat Stats again. They played 3 times and Stats won all 3 encounters ever since. Not too many games though, just 6, but hey, 6-0. I'm sure that's something that Stats can work with.
Yeah. I'm loving some of these signs here in the audience.
Did you like mine?
I did. Maynard wasn't paying attention when you put it up.
Oh,
It was actually really sad.
It's okay.
I was hoping he's paying attention as I said that now, but he's still on his phone right now.
He's making his next chess move against you.
Oh, that's right. Okay. That's fine then. So, PvP, of course, there are so many different branches of build orders, right? And so a big factor in this matchup is deception, unless you're really trying to play straight up. And of course, there's so many different ways to counter what each player is doing. So let's watch carefully and see what type of build orders are going to be coming out here, because it's also in a series this long, you're going to be getting a lot of information and getting a read on the way that each player is looking at PvP, maybe the best way to play it. Yep.
I think a good indicator in the beginning is often the first 2 units that come out of these gateway units already, and we can actually see that Stats is opening up with the 2 adepts. Now, obviously, a dream scenario is that these 2 adepts just go straight into the main base and they get 5 or 6 probes. That's not supposed to happen. But you know, when you open up with the adepts, it does often say like, hey, I want to be aggressive and I am looking for some of these worker kills early on. While Neeb is actually posturing himself a lot more defensively with that early sentry.
Okay, we're about to have this Nexus get thrown down here. The Stargate for Stats on the way now. This is a situation where neither player is actually proxying as well, which is incredibly common now. But this may be about as straightforward a PvP as we can ask for here.
It's actually kind of funny. I mean, Neeb should drop the Nexus now, and that's
Yeah,
indeed exactly what he does. The probe is on top of that ramp, so it should be able to keep these adepts out. It's important to send the probe away as well right after you warp in like a pylon or a shield battery temporarily. Otherwise, the adepts can like finish up the shade. They still get a worker kill, and they can get out of there again. So
yeah, and that matters a lot, because PvP, it's I mean, you could eventually get into a pretty big macro game, but a lot of the PvP games tend to be a little bit shorter because there's so many ways to do an incredible amount of damage right away to the other race.
Now this scout is obviously very important here for Neeb. He's going to see that the Stargate is in the main base and that there is an Oracle in production. But this kind of stuff I think often gets very interesting already, because yes, Neeb has the quicker expand, but I feel it's going to be almost impossible for Neeb not to take a lot of worker damage. And he actually doesn't have a shield battery here, so he has to be careful.
No. And this one Stalker in the front is going to get sniped. Okay, a cancel there on the pylon. He can actually come in here and then try to gun down the sentry as well.
Oh my goodness. This is bad actually. This is already quite bad. Now a couple of extra Stalkers do get warped in. There is a shield battery on the high ground, so that is quite nice. But don't forget that this is only the beginning for Stats. He is expanding, but he's also getting an Oracle during all of this. Second Oracle as well. And I really feel the ball is in Stats' corner to potentially kill a lot more workers. And I don't really know what Neeb can do against it.
He's already banked this one Oracle over here as well. There's a chance Neeb tries to push back out, but you know, if you're not on top of defending the Oracle, like if you're not already ready for the Oracle when it comes in, you're going to lose so many workers. And it's one of the worst things that can happen to you early on in a PvP. Okay, good defense, good instinct there by Neeb. Tags that army, so maybe he can try to come in there later on.
Yeah, it's very nice that at least his units were in the right position the first time, but that's not that many units. I wonder if Stats would think about it. Well, with 2 adepts, he's absolutely going to go for it. The adepts are going to attack the sentries. Here come the Oracles as well. That's already decent damage, but one Oracle does go down.
Yeah, pretty impressive targeting, actually, over there. He got the one Oracle immediately, but 4 kills on those probes.
Yeah, I mean, there is definitely an economic advantage now, right, for stats. And it's
Sure.
kind of what we predicted as well, because
Yeah.
you know, this is not that much that Neeb can do there. It's all a bit risky, because you are throwing away units, and if you throw away too many units, sometimes your opponent can just run to the other side of the map and
Right.
potentially deliver a finishing blow. But Neeb also knows that if he would leave his
Hold on.
side of the map right now, that Oracle would show up again.
I'm glad Stats paused the game because I had the same question. This is some badass sneaky play here. 2 hidden gates.
Yeah, you don't see
Yeah,
that.
that's you actually just never see that. But it looks like he's trying to throw off, you know, any scouting. Right, you're going to be looking for the gates and trying to, you know, see what kind of pacing game this is going to be. But it seems like Neeb is going to be going for some kind of counterattack coming up here. He might wait for Stats to take this economic advantage and expand on his own, taking a third base, getting ready, and then trying to monitor what exactly is going on. Look at how unhappy Stats is right now with this.
He's like, he did lose an Oracle.
This is-
I mean, he's thinking about his lost brother.
All right.
And Neeb, meanwhile, lost a lot of probes.
Neeb's like, hope he doesn't find those gateways.
But like the worst thing is though, like even if Neeb wants to start getting aggressive, it is so difficult to leave your base because there is still an Oracle out there. And
Yeah.
do you really want to attack when you have 2 Stalkers in your
That's
main or
very
2
true.
Stalkers in your natural? That's 8 supply. That's like half your army in PvP.
Sometimes, like, the threat of an Oracle counterattacking is more than enough. Even if you never have to use it, the fact that it keeps them back at home, can keep them pretty under control. So I'm actually not sure what the issue is yet, guys. I haven't been informed, but I think we'll probably get this sorted pretty quickly here.
I mean, we do know that Neeb made a War Prism, right, Tasteless? So
Right.
and he has those hidden gates, so he's obviously going to go for it. But I just kind of wonder how he's going to keep his probes safe because, I mean, we know that Stats is
Yeah.
always on top of his Oracle control. And if he sees an opportunity, he will go for it. So
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. If the Oracle's there and can kill all the workers, that's going to happen long before this attack can. And Stats can always kind of collapse back into his natural. So I was informed there's like a little bit of lag, so we're checking the computers for performance. But anyways, I'm not too worried. This usually gets fixed pretty quickly here. Kind of a scary moment, though. You know, Neeb just now setting up those 2 gateways. Again, we see a gateway out on the middle of the map. We'll see 1, but
Exactly.
this is actually him trying to hide. It's like when you're trying to hide tech, but instead you're trying to hide the core number of structures you have, because when you see the gateways coming in, then you know sort of what kind of pace the game is.
like normally, you're not supposed to build too many gateways in this phase in the game. You're supposed to be getting ready for your Twilight Council,
Right.
your Forge. And obviously, if Stats would go into the main base and he sees like 6 gates, he's like, all right, you know, now I build batteries and I
Yeah.
defend and I'm going to win the game. So Neeb is kind of just trying to hide the commitment he's going to have to the attack that he's obviously gunning up for. But I don't know, it's odd. Like, you don't normally see this kind of stuff.
So, okay, we're gonna have to keep this casting.
Casual.
a
We
little
can
bit
talk about that
ambiguous.
previous series.
Well, yeah.
Time
let's talk
against
about
Elaser.
this. Yes, Time against the Laser was dope, man. That was a really cool matchup to see, because I think both Time and Elaser have proven that they are so improved from what they were at before. You know, it really is a reminder to not write players off. You know, Elaser was a pretty big deal a couple of years ago, and I think these other players kind of caught up. But to be honest, I wasn't even totally sure if he was going to get in GSL versus the world, right? There was, you know, in Neeb or Cyril, I get it, absolutely. But he's come here now, and now he's the first player to get to the Final Four, which is awesome. And you can see why in his play.
No,
Like,
he
he
looked
is-
very good. It also feels that the victory over Dark that he had, it just gave him so much confidence.
Right.
And these guys, like, momentum is everything in StarCraft 2 as well. You can suddenly play so much better than you're even capable of normally if you just
Yeah.
truly believe that you're going to show the best version of yourself. And I think the fact that the first game was so long, I think he was on the ropes at one point, and then you still win it. It's just such a good way to shake off the nerves and really start hitting your stride.
Yeah. I wonder, I mean, the Laser's looking, frankly, so good out of all the games we've seen. I mean, we've had some amazing play. We've also had some pretty big, shocking upsets, not just as far as results go, but as performance in general.
Yeah.
Like Maru's games. I mean, that was a little bit weird.
Yes, that was
that
probably
was-
the weirdest best of 5 we've seen this
This-
tournament.
I'm sure you can relate to this as a caster. We're going to go back into the game. But you can probably relate to this as a caster, where you get used to seeing one guy win over and over. So there's sort of this, like, pre-game discussion where, like, well, this guy's kind of like this, but this other guy, you know, and you're trying to sum up where they're at, and then the game actually starts, and it's completely and totally different because that player has actually been back in the lab improving. And we're back in this game. And sorry, we had some of these shift subjects there. The players had taken their headsets off, so we cannot, I was informed we can't talk about the game in case they hear it, because 2 hidden gateways is all you need to know.
Yeah. I'm actually just so confused where Neeb is going with this, because as long as he cannot take care of that Oracle, he has to leave so many units at home, and then I don't really see any attack work. But maybe he's still just going to drop some tech in his main base, but it's late, and he's still 7 workers behind as well. That's quite a few workers.
Oracle has wings.
Yeah, it's a new Oracle skin.
Little hummingbird wings. Look at that.
It's like a bumblebee.
It looks kind of like a little fish.
All right, well, it takes quite some damage. So Neeb is actually going to leave a couple of these units behind, Tasteless, like we mentioned.
Okay,
but at the same time, he's also running towards the other side of the map.
Okay, coming in now. We have the attack. Stats is very aware that this threat is real. There's no third base being taken. The Oracle is going to merge up with the army. Here comes the warp in.
It's a lot of adapts, but they don't have resonating glaives. But I think Stats is actually a bit out of position. Those force fields are really good, but there is a warp prism for Stats as well.
Okay, good pickup there. Able to move that the Immortals back. The Immortals is the only thing he really has that can help him defend against this. We're going to have another warp in shortly here from Neeb with a lot more adapts. And he's actually, okay, I thought he was going to let that finish for a second. So he's right at the mouth of the second base here. Neeb has to decide, is he really going to push in? We do see a Forge making back at home, which generally means that there's some investment in a later game here, but he's going to try to come in.
That's a lot of adapts.
Push comes to shove.
And if these adapts get on top of the other adapts or the sentries, those units will go down very quickly. I kind of like that defensive Phoenix there to lift that one Immortal up of Neeb, and I actually think that Stats is going to be able to defend this with the shield batteries that he has on top of the ramp as well.
You're totally right. Having that Phoenix being able to disable that Immortal, that's so much less damage that was able to be pulled off. We see now targeting here from the Stalkers onto the Warp Prism, but the shield battery comes in to save the day, and Stats shuts this attack down.
That was actually really cool, but it's kind of funny because Stats has walled himself out, so maybe Neeb can get something done in the main base, but there are still 2 Immortals here. That Stalker gets one-shotted as well. Yeah. I mean, you gotta love the way that Stats handled that.
Yeah, that was really good. There's more gateways coming down. We have the weapons upgrade here as well. Neeb, I think he had some of the right ideas there, but now Stats is going to be able to come across the map and start to do his own Immortal harass. And by the way, we have a Templar Archives and 5 more gateways coming here for Stats.
Yeah, the tech advantage on the side of Stats is actually very big at this point. And he's got an army advantage as well, because I believe he has way more Immortals. I think he's got 4 of them at this point. His +1 is done already, so Stats defending there really puts him in an excellent position.
Okay, he's going to try to come in here and maybe gun down some probes. The Adepts coming in here as well. Any kills they can get on probes, absolutely helpful. Right now, by the way, worker count is virtually even.
Yeah.
We have 2 guys both just powering up so hard.
I know this can look a little bit deceiving, perhaps, for the people at home, being like, well, why is Stats doing so good? He's actually down like 20 supply, but he's just so far ahead in tech. He's ahead in upgrades, and he's ahead in tech. And yes, Neeb is up in supply, but there's a lot of units that are not going to matter that much, because he's still stuck on quite a few adapts that don't even have the resonating glaive, so they're really not going to be that impactful.
Yeah, this is some insane powering, man. Stats, by the way, look at this. This is so funny. You can actually have your War Prism just right-clicked on their War Prism, and it's already enough to spot. He's going to recall that back home. Charge is about to finish up here. And here comes Stats. I think Stats will just easily be able to contest the third base.
Absolutely.
It's
going to be a mighty fine army.
Too.
He's getting a second Prism as well.
I like this Archon skin. Oh, look at his good shoulder muscles. But he does skip leg day. No legs. Look at that. What does he have? Butterfly wings on his back? What is that? He's got little butterfly wings.
He looks beautiful. I'm with you.
Yeah, he's good. I'm fine.
We're going to get another Archon in the mix here as well. And this is going to be very difficult for Neeb, who is going to have his own charge, but he still has quite a few Stalkers as well. Armies are somewhat close, but that +2 is going to finish up in the near future for Stats.
Yeah.
And Stats overall just having a few more power units. He is actually supply blocked. 110 out of 110.
Oh, good catch, Roddy. Yeah, that's not supposed to happen. Is Neeb actually going to try to pick this fight? Again, you got to be careful with the angling here. When you have this number of Archons, the Zealots are generally these spongy units that are made to soak up damage so everything else can deal damage. But if you get the wrong angle when there's a lot of Archons, the Zealots just disappear.
Yep.
Okay, so this arc is actually pretty decent here for Neeb. Another warp in, and again, that Phoenix picking up that Immortal.
Yeah, you gotta love it. I mean, it really does feel that Stats' army is just a little bit more powerful here. He's got still a lot of Archons. He, of course, has his own Warp Prism as well, so he's got a lot of micro potential. And, of course, if you give Stats micro potential, he's gonna save these Archons. He still has +2, don't forget about it. And it really does make a massive difference in this fight.
And this is where it starts to snowball. There's no way to survive any longer. Stats wins game 1 in actually a pretty technical PvP on both sides. A lot of really cool ideas were being toyed with, but Stats was the one that came out on top.
Yeah, I like the way that he played it early on with the Adepts and the Oracles. He wasn't super reckless with them, but he still found his openings, did a little bit of damage here and there. And then Neeb kind of tried to catch him off guard, right? With that sneaky play, just attacking with a bunch of Adepts without resonating glaives. It's not something we see super often in this matchup. I almost felt that maybe he gave Stats too much time, because I thought the beginning of that fight actually went quite good. And I think from that point on, just go forward, go for it. Because the longer you wait, the more energy there's going to be on those defensive shield batteries, and the easier it is going to be for Stats to defend. And once Stats actually defended, he was just really far ahead. Even if the numbers didn't show it, like he was ahead in every department that truly mattered.
Okay, game 2 will be on Thunderbird. Again, Neeb's gotten a little bit of a read on how Stats is approaching this matchup, but there are so many different ways to approach PvP. There's so many different openers here. And of course, with both sides being able to proxy in so many different ways, that's a lot of moving parts here. Our game is now loading up. Stats versus Neeb. Laser so far the only player in the Final Four. Stats, he's looking strong. Let's see if Neeb can take him as our game is now ready.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
In the bottom right, in the blue, our Protoss player from Korea, he is
Splice. Stats.
A lot of people here in the building for this, man. It's hard not to love him.
And in the upper left, in the red, from the USA, our Protoss player, he is
Ting. Neeb.
He has now lost the last 7 games he has ever played against Stats in an official competitive environment. And that's obviously...
that's a good sign.
Yeah, that is actually really
That's
cool.
really good.
I've never seen that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to see Neeb also go for some Stargate builds over here, Tastes. Like, I kind of like the confidence play where he's like, you know what, I'm just going to go for one of these regular defensive builds, but I don't know, you give so much time and opportunity to a player like Stats. We know that Stats is so incredibly good. He is most likely going to find a way to get a little advantage here and there. I'd love to see Neeb, like, not necessarily go crazy one-base all-ins and stuff like that, but also go for attack among the lines of either a Stargate or a Twilight, or just like anything that's a bit out there, rather than the save, I'm just going to sit back and defend and expand. Like, I believe if you're the better player, that's the best strategy.
Right.
And I love Neeb, but I don't want to say that he's the better player when he's going up against Stats.
No, I mean, I think it is very fair to say that Stats is probably just an overall better player in PvP. Stats is always at the top of Protoss. And even when, he doesn't win that next tournament, we go, okay, well, he's not comboing tournament victories. He'll come back the next one. And Neeb is quite good, but I mean, even when talking to Neeb, Neeb just says Stats is so good at understanding this matchup. It's very hard to play against him. And I think that's why we had a really abstract strategy used in game 1 with the 2 gates hidden there. Is it's like, that's just maybe not something Stats is going to expect, but either way, he held it off.
I wonder if Neeb went for the 2 gateway build because he planned that all along, or because of the fact that he went up against multiple Adepts and the Oracles, and then he was able to pick off a couple of units.
Yeah.
That he maybe felt, he's like, well, Stats is most likely focusing a lot on his own economy at home. He's probably teching up. He threw away a couple of units. I think I can get him here while he's not ready. I mean, it makes sense, or maybe it was planned all along. We will never know. But this time we're going to see things a little bit different. Neeb open up with the Stalker Sentry. So similar to New Repugnancy, but this is obviously a big defensive map. But he's going to follow it up with the Adepts. And I kind of like unit number 3 and 4 to be Adepts, because often if the Adepts don't show up immediately, Protoss players can become a little lazier in guarding that ramp, right? Because like he didn't open up with Adepts, so why would there suddenly be Adepts?
Yeah, no, you make a very good point. From here, more and more sentries are coming out. It's going to be a game where both players get their expands up pretty easily. Nobody did anything to initiate right away.
I'd love to see Neeb prevent. Okay, no. I think he tried to hide it, but that's
Yeah,
not going to work out. So that's a really useful scout already. This may not seem like a big deal, but now Stats obviously does know that there are 2 adepts out on the map.
Right, and anything that you can spot like that early on is huge in this matchup. Now we have the Robo coming down here for Stats, whereas Neeb has started his own Forge.
Yeah, that's a super defensive play by Neeb. I actually think that's kind of Stats' build. I think Stats used to do this for a while, open up with a very quick Forge. You're going to get ridiculously quick upgrades. You can see Stats that he's looking for these adepts that he saw with his Hallucinated Phoenix. And if you just get a couple of shots on them already with your Stalkers, it makes your life a lot easier.
Yeah, he was not able to find those just yet. We have the Forge also coming down now for Stats. It's going to be a little bit later. This will only matter if it's in between those upgrades.
How did this even happen? How did they somehow run by all of these Stalkers? There should, of course, be a probe
Here we
in
go.
position.
They're in there.
Might get at least 2 probes here, right? Oh, no, there's 2 more adepts there as well. Those adepts were hidden tasteless. They look like probes.
Yeah. So, another Hallucinated Phoenix coming out. We have the Robo for Neeb now on the way. But there's going to be a little bit of a, I guess you could say, a Robo-Tech tempo advantage here for Stats. Obviously, the Robo, you can only make 1 Robo unit at a time. So, he's going to have that first Warp Prism. He might just use this for Harass, or I don't think he's going to set up for any kind of special attack here with them both just now getting +1 attack. But
yeah, it's unlikely. I think that Stats is indeed going to try to just be fancy with his 2 adepts, because he had 2 adepts as well, right? And we've seen this play more and more often lately, where you can shade 2 adepts into a mineral line, you can get like 1 or 2 probes, and then the Warp Prism shows up, and you can save your adepts.
Right.
And you can do that over and over again. That's really cool stuff. Instead, he's got 4 adepts, so maybe he's going to try to do that move where they shade on top of the sentries.
Yes.
And then you just go in, you pick up these sentries, and then the Warp Prism shows up and evacuates it as well. Look at that Stargate, by the way. That's a really interesting timing for the Stargate. You don't see that super often.
yeah, this is getting pretty crazy. It's pretty cool. Hold on. Here comes that Warp Prism now. He's going to, oh, this is really cute.
He's going to go for the sentries and then pick it up.
Yeah. That's so great when you get those sentry kills. Because you come in, and you're just resetting that gas tech, because they're either going to play the game without sentries, or... Oh, here we go.
It's really good zoning, actually, on that Warp Prism, so that means that these adepts are stuck. 1 or 2 did go
no,
down.
All 3 get back. But he did use the recall. You know, a finite resource as far as the time of the game goes.
I actually kind of like the way that Neeb salvaged that situation. It's like not easy to make the correct calls and put your units in the correct position, but I really like the way that he zoned that Prism out and make it harder for Stats to pull off that move. Look at that Phoenix. I mean, that's such an odd moment. I mean, it's obviously going to be great against Warp Prisms and stuff, but normally this is a pretty big investment. Stargate is expensive. A Phoenix is expensive. Is he going to just make a single Phoenix, or is he going to make even more Phoenixes? It's odd. You don't see that very often in PvP.
Yeah, this is... hold on. Here's another scout here. More gates coming down. Still been 2 base powering for a while now. It used to be a long time ago that players would try to get a 3rd base. Pretty quickly, and it seems like it's harder to do if you're both powering up. We see Stats taking his, but you know it's a lot of times you have to get enough gateways out that you can really have some muscle on the map.
Phoenix is looking for that Warp Prism.
Yeah, I did not get it. There's a warp in just outside there.
This is, of course, one of the maps where it's a little bit easier in general to go up to 3 bases, because there's only 1 ramp, right, that goes into all 3 bases. So you definitely make a very good point. On most maps, players are terrified to expand. This map, it's a little bit more doable.
Well, this map, out of all the maps we have, incentivizes players to really, macro up, and the distance is so far that it's hard to really come in there with attacks. Okay, he's going to come with the Archons. You can actually get these sentries here.
Yeah, that's actually... whoa! Very aggressive dropping as well. Gets 2 sentries.
So good.
That's the real Phoenix, and I don't know.
Hold on. No, I think he's going to be okay if he controls this correctly. Oh, my God.
I think you might want to recall these Archons at this point.
I think so, yeah.
At the same time, there's a battle going on in the natural
this
Neeb
position
as
is
well.
really bad, too, because the Stalkers were not able to get all their shots up at once, and now the Zealots are going to come in, but an easy pickup. Hallucinated Phoenix, so no damage on that Warp Prism.
Okay, he actually just didn't pick him up anymore and just ran home. I think that's quite smart.
Yeah.
A Robo Bay already going down for Neeb, and that often means that he's going to get a 2nd robotics facility as well. And kind of wonder, because Neeb has shown quite a bit of Colossus actually lately in this matchup.
Yeah.
But this is a very big map, so I wonder if he's going to try to pull that off, especially if he knows there's already a Stargate out on the map, and that obviously means quicker access to Tempest.
So that Warp Prism once again backs up. If there's no air units to hit that, I mean, you could basically stay out there for as long as you want, right? I mean, this is one of the things that happens when you don't have Stargate tech. Granted, Stargate tech's not the most integral thing in a late game PvP, but yeah, I mean, you can basically go unpunished with the threat of Immortals dropping there and killing off probes at any point in time.
You gotta be pretty happy with the way that Neeb is playing so far in this game though, right? Like he's absolutely holding his own, he's not falling apart, no big errors, you look at the supplies, the upgrades, he's in this one. Like if this is not Neeb against stats, nobody would ever say like, oh, I think the Blue Protoss is like looking really good and is getting very far ahead. So far so good, and I think it's important for Neeb to finally have a game where you can get into like the 9, 10, 11 minute mark and be like, hey, I'm actually not behind yet, you know?
Right.
Like this is anybody's game. I think it's really good for his confidence, and there we do have one Colossus. I wonder if he's just going to make one and then try to attack. That'd be... Cause
Yeah, that could be good, right? With that extra splash damage there in that. And force fields being, well, I guess they're already muted then by the Archons anyways. But we have the Hallucinated Phoenix actually coming through here. And seeing that both players are just going to be taking a fourth now. So 130 supply.
I really wonder, right? Because like he's building only one Colossus now. Now he's getting a second robotics facility, but there you already have that fleet beacon and that second Stargate. I have the feeling that Stats actually did his homework and maybe took a look at a couple of those recent PvPs of Neeb, and he's like, hey, this crazy American Protoss actually likes building Colossus in this matchup. Yeah. So why not get the random Stargate so A, I can shut down War Prism play, even though that Phoenix does go down, and B, if he wants to go into Colossus, I can go into Tempest very quickly. It really does feel that Stats is kind of prepared for this.
Here's another drop, just hitting this Nexus. Not really impactful at all. But we're ramping up to basically like endgame PvP here. I mean, they're both maxing out. A lot of times in this matchup, it comes down to the army positioning, how recalls are used, how, you know, if a War Prism flies in, can you do a lot of damage with that? And we don't see anybody moving out trying to control the map for now because they're trying to make sure they're not going to get hurt by harass. But eventually, this is going to be the major factor. In fact, we have Stats moving out now to do this.
Yep, I actually feel like this is a very good game for Disruptors at this point, because I feel like Neeb, his attack is going to be good against the ground army, but then Stats already has the answer, right, with the Tempest. So to me, it makes so much sense to maybe start getting a couple of these Disruptors. We all know the power of those units in this matchup. I'm really wondering if like Neeb is going to try to hit some sort of a timing with his Colossus, but I really don't believe that window exists. I mean, the Tempests are already on their way out.
War Prism continuing to come through here, forcing units to get warped in all over the place. And there's no way for him to basically trap this here at all.
I'm so shocked that we don't see a Robo Bay yet from Stats. To me, it would make so much sense to get like your own Robo Bay and start getting a Disruptor or two, especially because he's the one getting Tempest as well. The Disruptors and Tempest actually go pretty well together, right?
When we were looking at this game earlier on, I was actually wondering about Disruptors as well here, because that would definitely be a more direct way to deal with this. But he's sticking to what he's got. He's got the Tempest now. Neeb is actually moving through the center right part of the map. He might try to pick a fight at this angle above the Nexus.
I mean, it would be hard to pick a fight when he has this much supply at home, right? Guarding that War Prism.
Yeah.
I think you want to
that's very true. Yeah, good point.
Yeah. Like, the funny thing is about Tempest, and it's really cool about this matchup, right? Like, Tempests are technically fantastic against everything that Neeb has from far away, but if Neeb can just run in there and get right on top of this army of Stats, it actually takes a really long time for Tempest to make the difference. But if Stats can get some sort of like a rolling fight, you know, like I shoot and I run back and I shoot and run back, and he does that 3 or 4 times, then I think Stats' army is going to be a lot better.
Okay, some pot shots hit there on that army.
He's got an Oracle.
Is Neeb going to try to go for this? We have those Disruptors out now.
He should really reveal this army. That's exactly what Stats
Yeah, that's the...
Man, Stats is so good.
There it is. Okay, now he can basically pick and choose to fight whenever he wants. This is perfect here for these Tempests. He's going to get one more shot. Pinned up there by the War Prism. So sick.
Yeah, really good micro there by Neeb, and he's sort of getting on top of it. Look at these Archons, they're getting underneath the Tempest. Neeb is getting on top of this army, but is that enough, Tasteless?
He's continuing to push through. It's just a few Tempests, but a lot of Immortals here on the low ground.
Oh my god, he's avoiding all of these Tempest shots with his War Prism.
Oh my god,
sick.
It's
Neeb.
so good.
Wow,
the Tempests
Neeb.
don't do anything if the shots won't connect on those Colossi.
That's amazing. Now he's shooting forward. These Purification Novas as well.
Dude, he's so good.
Wow,
These Zealots are warped in, but they're going to get melted by the Archons and the Colossi shots.
That's
GG.
it, man. That's it. Neeb finally, after losing 7 games in a row against Stats over the last 2 years.
That was so sick, picking that up.
He avoided so much damage there.
He's like, I know I have the answer for this.
That was amazing.
You know, it's StarCraft, guys. You know, some of the units that shoot, like Immortals or tanks, there's no like bullet animation. And so the damage is done when the shot is fired. But for Tempests or Stalkers, that laser has to hit the target. And so if you just pop the Colossus up there, the Tempest literally has done no damage.
And the sick thing is, Tempest shoot very slowly, so if
Yeah.
all 4 of them fire at the same Colossus and they all 4 miss, I mean, that has a massive impact on these battles.
Essentially, it's like the Tempest were not in the fight.
No.
in that sense.
Wow. I'm very, very impressed by the way that Neeb did that. Because that wasn't the only thing he was paying attention to. I also felt like overall he had a pretty decent engagement there. He moved all of his units forward. He got right on top of that army like I thought he was supposed to. And he finally gets a big W over stats. Because it's been a while for him.
Yeah.
We've got a series, Tasteless.
The question is, can he do it again? Stats, by the way, looking pretty disappointed with that loss there. Definitely a frustrating way to go down. I mean, he got siled on back there.
And especially because I think that Stats really thought that he did what he was supposed to do. He had a good read on it. He knew what to expect. He had the answer, and yet he ended up losing. I bet he's like, whoa, wait a minute. I really didn't think that was going to happen.
All right, Game 3 has loaded up. Our map is Cyber Forest. Stats versus Neeb continues on.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
In the upper left, in the blue, from South Korea, he is
Splice. Stats.
in the bottom right, in the red, from the USA, he is
Ting. Neeb.
All right, little reminder here, everyone. There's only 3 Koreans in the round of 8. Neeb has shown that Stats can bleed. If Stats dies here, first of all, big win for the USA, but also, we only have 2 Koreans left.
Yeah. And one of them is going up against a certain young man called Jonas Satala, who often wins video games, so we'll see. I mean, we're not there yet, obviously. Let's not get too carried away. Stats lost the map. You know,
No, I'm getting carried away, Roddy. You can't stop me, all right?
All right.
I'm losing my mind right now. I think Neeb might be able to take this.
You're feeling this American hype? I mean, Cyber Forest is obviously a lot smaller, right? We can talk a little bit about this map. Thunderbird, one of the biggest maps we currently have. Cyber Forest, literally the smallest map. And there's a good chance that we're going to get some of those proxies, those early game proxies that you mentioned before, that you see time and time again in the GSL.
Yeah, we have a lot of them. I've been so impressed following Neeb's career because, you know, he is so good. To be frank, I think, you know, EU just simply put has a little bit better, not better players, but there's more good players, right? But, you know, Neeb, Scarlet, Special, still holding down the NA scene, you know? And it's so cool to see, just to see how he approaches the game. He is such a thinker. You know, he really does approach the Protoss race from his own angle. I know, and this is probably true for most of the people watching, but a lot of times you just look at what like the best player is doing and try to copy that. But it's really incredible when you get somebody who's kind of figuring this out on their own and adding their own flavor, you know, and is just a few spots away from maybe being the best in the world.
Yeah, no, there have definitely been times where it felt that Neeb was kind of ahead of the meta, right? And you go back to the early days when he had a lot of success in this matchup. He truly was the Disruptor King before everybody else got on board with that unit.
He basically showed up to Korea and all the Koreans were like, what?
Yeah, what are you doing?
He started killing everybody.
Why do you keep making those funny units that shoot balls forward? It's like, oh my goodness, they're really good. You just won this tournament. So we've got Stats opening up with 2 Stalkers and also following it up with 2 Adepts. Now I wonder if he's going to go for that Stargate again. I actually would find that a pretty bizarre opening on a tiny map like Cyber Forest, but we will see. Neeb is actually getting a shield battery there. I don't know if he's going to be able to let this one finish up. He's going to push the Stalkers away, so he's going to be fine for now.
Yeah. The Adept's not quite able to get in front of the Stalkers there, but he's going to go in a little bit of back and forth here.
Maybe a Robo, I guess, on both sides?
Could be.
Most sense.
There's the Robo now for Stats. We're still waiting to see if Neeb's going to do it. He's going to have to make something here. By the way, an attack coming in here. There is one battery. The Sentry makes a little bit of a weaker army, but the battery might allow this to balance out. And there is a probe there to block that entrance. Very good reaction timing from Neeb.
Yeah, so it's going to be Robo against Robo, and this really changes up things to compare to, let's say, the first game that we saw, New Repugnancy, where, yes, we ended up with the Robo on both sides because they both had Immortals and a Warp Prism, but the Oracle obviously changes the entire flow of the game that we had.
Right.
Now we don't have that, and especially because this map is so small. There's a lot of weird movements you can do with just a Warp Prism, a couple Sentries, a couple Stalkers, maybe Twilight upgrades or maybe not. It's going to be very important for both these guys to really be on top of each other's stack.
Okay, another shade forward. Neeb right now in pursuit of stats. Don't forget that recall is available. Good block there. Oh, and he lets this come in. Good force field there. That's going to force the recall back here from stats. Meanwhile, these Adepts are getting in the way of these Stalkers, and now we're getting to the permanent damage.
Yeah, but he didn't get the Stalker. I think he was really hoping to maybe block one of these Stalkers in the middle of the map.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he wanted to kind of like body block him and then actually dish out a little bit more, but the Stalker sort of wiggled through it.
Forge and Warp Prisms, at least a Forge on the side for Neeb and a Warp Prism on either side. Stats is also getting an Observer. That's a very quick Observer. Doesn't seem to be too worried about any potential aggression. We're going to have a little Adept skirmish in the middle of the map. All right, Tasteless.
Here we go.
Oh, that's not fair anymore. That's not fair at all.
Stats is like, I know how to do this too, Neeb.
Well, once the Warp Prism shows up, Neeb knows that that's a losing battle.
Yeah.
Kind of like this.
It is kind of crazy, like how much the Warp Prism can make the math fuzzy on fights.
Especially with these units like Adepts, because their projectile is kind of slow, so it's actually kind of easy to out-micro them as well.
Yeah. It is one of the more slow motion-y fights. I remember, you know, just it took me a while as a caster to really get the handle on just how abusive Warp Prisms can be, because there'd be almost nothing in some of these fights, just like, you know, an Immortal and a Warp Prism and an insane army coming there, and I'm like, no, you just don't know yet. You just don't know until we see how he controls that. Good kill there on that Adept.
Yep, one of the Adepts is actually going to make it into the natural. Gets the first probe and should be able to get one more probe there. No, he does not. A little bit of misfire there, because if he would have moved this Adept better, he would have. But I think he was more occupied with the Warp Prism and the other two. Try to get some more damage done. I mean, Neeb is being annoying, but Neeb is playing really well.
Yeah.
I like it. I mean, no major advantage yet in this game. It's very close on either side. I think a very high-level PvP so far. Maybe we didn't have the most dramatic, epic back-and-forth games yet, but I'm just happy to see that Neeb is bringing his regular level with good Stalker movement here as well. Gets a lot of damage on this Prism. I'm happy about this, Stasis, because in the past there has been a couple of times where I'm like, man, Neeb is so good. I know that he can really bring the fight to stats. I don't know if he's going to win, but he can bring the fight, but then it would be like a lackluster 0-2, 0-3, just played without any confidence. I feel like today, Neeb is bringing that confidence.
Yeah, I agree with you, Roddy. I mean, he's looking really good, really slick. Also, you can kind of see just in the builds these guys are doing a lot of respect on both sides.
For sure.
You know, especially here, for instance, in this game, very conservative. You know, a lot of very mild pokes coming in here. Nobody wanting to do anything too dramatic.
Now we see that Stargate again by stats, and I still find that weird because you really just don't see that super often in this phase of the game. This is actually going to be a pretty cool play. 3 Adepts going to shade into the natural, and 2 Immortals will show up as well. Neeb, where are your units, my friend? I mean, he's got that shield battery, but the Immortals pack one hell of a punch, and this is going really well for stats.
Yeah, this is the moment where normally you see the Immortals killing workers, and these Immortals are like, wait a minute, we can just kill everything here. So he picks up. And that actually whittled down Neeb's army pretty considerably. Meanwhile, we have another drop coming in here now. Neeb with his own Immortals trying to hit some of these probes.
Yep, should be able to get quite a few. Gets 3 and now gets out of there. But I kind of feel, right, Tasteless, because I feel that Stats is getting ready for a similar game to Thunderbird. But I don't think that Neeb is planning to make Colossus quickly on Cyber Forest at all. This is the kind of map where Neeb builds up a big army of 44 to 48 probes and runs to the other side of the map. And he tries to win. And then I think the investment in the Stargate and in the Phoenix is actually not going to be worth it. Like, Stats is a tiny bit ahead in this game, but this time I actually don't like the Stargate. I liked it on Thunderbird, but I don't really like it over here on Cyber Forest.
Yeah, he's just... This Warp Prism's going to stay out here for a while. These guys both are having the same problems. We have the Nexuses coming down on both sides. Note they are expanding to different locations. Oh, no.
That's so risky.
Yeah.
And now there's a real Phoenix in the mix as well. One of them is real.
No, one of them is real. It's fake, and he lost the Warp Prism, lost the 2 Immortals. And if there was anything that could happen that would put one player ahead, that was it. Losing the 2 Immortals and the and the Warp Prism, excuse me.
I think 1 Immortal got out of there, right?
Oh, did it?
I thought he recalled one of them.
No, I thought he picked up one, and it died inside the Warp Prism.
Not 100% sure, but either way, it was painful. It was very painful and kind of unfortunate. But now I still think that Neeb is gonna maybe try to hit that attack. If you look at the army supply, Neeb is still a tiny bit ahead. I don't know if this is gonna be enough to just run to the other side of the map as he activates the 2 barriers there. I mean, it is always hard, right, to attack when you know there is still a Warp Prism with 2 Immortals on your side of the map. But Neeb is gonna try to do exactly what we talked about.
This is like hurting my brain because I saw that army just run away, even though there's just an observer clicked on the Warp Prism. Yeah, Neeb's going to come across, Roddy. He's going for it.
His army is bigger. I think that Stats may be expecting it. It feels like Stats is a tiny bit out of position, though.
Yeah. Well, Stats, he's arcing now. Now, ground weapons level 2 is about to finish, and that's when this attack is going to activate. 8 Zealots to 22 here. Neeb with maybe a little bit more push potential, but this angle, this funnel they have to move through, it's kind of an undesirable spot to bring your army through.
Well, Neeb only has one Immortal. Immortals are good, but it's all about the Zealots and the Archons. Kind of an awkward engagement here at first for Neeb, but can he make the difference? I think there's a good chance because the Immortals are not that great against Zealots and Archons, and the Zealots and Archons are right on top of all of this.
Neeb is beginning to push through as this army thins out. We have the Warp Prism moving in. One Immortal picked up here, but so much damage coming down. Now finally Neeb can get to these Immortals. The army branching off in 2 different directions.
Wow, really good job there by Stats, saving so many of those important units in the end. But he lost all of the Archons. The Prism is taking a lot of damage as well. And look how low those Immortals are. Neeb needs to keep pounding, but I think he's going to do it. Yeah,
well, he's now broken the army off away from this base. So Stats is having to ferry Immortals over to this spot to try to help out. Now the army's going to try to come in here from behind. But I just don't think there's enough. I think Neeb has actually done it.
Yep, Neeb's army is just bigger, man. It's just bigger and it's better and it's stronger at this point. The last Immortal goes down as well. The Prism goes down and Neeb is about to get a 2-1 lead over Stats.
GG.
Wow.
Well, I'll have to be casting game 4 with a bald eagle on my arm. Neeb. It's a good day to be an American, Roddy.
Isn't every day a good day to be American?
Well, usually, but not always, actually. Wow, Neeb just bringing it, man.
He's playing
2-1
very
against
well.
Stats. I feel like I'm going to wake up and be in my bed and be like, oh, I got to go cast GSL versus the World today. I was dreaming.
Especially because once upon a time he lost 7 maps in a row. Now he won 2 in a row.
All right, guys. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, Stats versus Neeb, game 4.
kill me, 'cause I don't think that you've got the nerve, though you wear a disguise.
2019 GSL versus the world.
All right, we're back here at the GSL versus the world. And Guys, Neeb is up 2-1 against it. It's crazy.
And Tasteless, if he wins, he goes up against Elaser in the semi-finals in GSL vs. the World, which means a guaranteed non-Korean in the final.
Ooh.
And then we still got Zero on the other side of the bracket. I mean,
That's
and
right.
Special as well.
A lot of pressure here on Neeb, excuse me, on Stats. Neeb has no pressure. He's just killing it, all right? His heart hasn't skipped a beat. No, seriously. I mean, again, Korea is expecting revenge this year. They're expecting to have a Korean win GSL versus the World. They're hoping that that was a fluke, a historical fluke that Cyril won. But now, the one player who might be able to stand in the way of Cyril is having a hard time against Neeb.
Yep. We saw Stats in the final of this tournament last year. We saw him in the final of the global finals, and he won a big tournament in Finland just 2 weeks ago. But now Tasteless, he's on the ropes.
Neeb with just some crazy PvP. So exciting, guys. All right, the countdown has started. Stats needs to come back, or it will be Neeb moving on to the round of 4 in the GSL versus the World. Our map is Acropolis. Let's find out if Neeb closes this out, or if we're gonna go to the 5th and decider match.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
In the upper left, in the blue, our Korean Protoss player. He is
Splice. Stats.
And in the bottom right, in the red, from the USA, our Protoss player, our other Protoss player, he is
Ting. Neeb.
All right, all the Americans watching now, all right? I'm sure you're getting your flags out right now. Make sure they don't touch the ground, okay? When you're done with the flags, be sure to fold them up into that weird triangle shape, okay? That's how you fold a flag. You guys are probably wondering, Tasis, are you casting in your cowboy boots right now? Yes, I am. I got them on after the 3rd game. And we're going to see. We're going to see what happens. We'll see if Stats can pull it together and even this out. Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, it's really funny because like I think back of the Thunderbird game and I was like, I actually kind of liked everything that Stats did, and I thought the Tempests were on time and he was doing well, but it was just like, damn, Neeb is pulling off some really cool micro with that Warp Prism, saving the Colossus, nullifying that damage. I was like, cool, you know, that's a thing, it can happen, right? But I must say, in the previous game, I didn't really like the Stargate. I said it at minute 4 or 5 already. It's a big investment in a low economic game, and that's what PvP is most of the time. And yes, okay, it got kind of a lucky grab on that Warp Prism in the middle of the map, but that still wasn't enough. Like, you're spending a lot of resources. He had a lot of Immortals, and Immortals can be good, even in the bigger fights, of course, in PvP. But if your opponent is trying to hit like this Zealot arc on timing, the Stargate tech is completely useless, and that's the kind of build that Neeb really loves to do. I almost never see him go for Colossus.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was the main reason why he was going for that Stargate in the first place. So, kind of just an odd decision, I think, by Stats to do that build again on Cyber Forest. And we'll see if he goes back to something a little more normal here on Acropolis.
So we have one proxied pylon here in the south, and that is going to be, oh, a Robo. I almost like went out ahead of myself. I'm like, that's going to be a Stargate.
Wow.
There it was. That's the one I meant to say it about. And so there's a proxied Stargate in the north. It's 6 o'clock. Stats is going for a Robo. So we're going to be having a push here from Stats, but Roddy, correct me if I'm wrong. There's going to be a problem if he does try to push here because this Stargate was going to have such easy access to the workers in the main.
Oh, you are spot on, Tasteless. It's not just that it has easy
Oh my
access.
God.
Wow, that's a big scout as well for Neeb. Oh my goodness, Neeb is playing very well.
Stats just made a frowny face.
Yep, because he doesn't like that
Now
being
he's
revealed.
nodding his head. He's like, yep, you got me.
You know, the Oracle always has a lot of potential, like you said, but this target is so freaking close as well. This Oracle is basically going to pop, and 2 seconds later, it's going to be in the mineral line. This is going to be hard, man, and this is super risky.
Yeah, this is...
Actually, you can let this... No.
I know what you were saying, yeah.
Don't worry, Neeb, I would have fell for that bait, too.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, this is a really good fight, 2 against 1. Never mind, it's not. But, I mean, it's still like it, though, because he knows what he's going up against, and that Oracle has so much potential.
Okay. Here we go. Oracle's out. There's 1 battery.
But you can still kill workers, even if there is 1
yes.
battery. There's a little trick. Like, obviously, it can take like 5 hits, and then you can get a probe. But also, if you micro the Oracle, there's actually a way to pick off a couple of these workers. Neeb is not really doing that yet, but he's draining the battery of energy very quickly, and now he's still getting quite a few kills. Needs to send it away. Now, of course, Tasteless, it is important. Does he have enough units at home to defend against this Prism and the Immortal of stats?
All right, we gotta have that other Oracle come in. Here's the War Prism to merge up. The Immortal is sort of the backbone of this push.
I like the
but he's on the high ground. He's got 2 batteries.
Yep, and he's going for 4 gates as well. Now the Oracle and the Adept are actually going to show up at the same time, and that's a lot of worker damage already against the 1-base Protoss. Jeez Louise, 10 prompts go down.
You kidding me?
And Stats is going to see there is no expand here, so he has to go up the ramp. It's 1 base against 1 base. Look at these batteries. All that Neeb needs to do right now is just build as many units as you can and don't mess up. Don't get force fielded in or anything, and then I think he can very well do this, Tasteless.
Okay. Stats is going to try to chip away at this gateway. It's basically free for him. Yeah. Still Warpin's coming in behind this.
Neeb just needs to make sure that he doesn't move his army in a bad spot. I mean, he was rebuilding these gates anyway. Like, it obviously stings, right? But he knows that the amount of economic damage he did was massive. I wouldn't actually mind him go for that War Prism there. I feel like it's pretty vulnerable in that spot, but...
Okay. Second gateway gonna go down. Neeb just needs to buy time. I mean, the worker leaders are... Oh, whoa, no, 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 no! Oh my god, that's exactly what Stats needed to do.
Yeah.
The War Prism's just out of Stalker range, so the juggling is going to be a real pain here for Neeb.
Yeah, this is not a fight you really want to take against that War Prism and the Immortal, but Neeb has the battery, so he was allowed to make like a little error here and there. I wonder what the Oracles are doing. I guess they're just chilling on the other side of the map. These batteries are kind of low on energy now, so I'm starting to get a little bit worried because this army of stats feels strong. There's another backup battery, apparently. I mean, this is dicey. Where are those Oracles? They should still have some potential. Okay, here we go. He's just going to bring it home, and I think that's actually pretty smart.
Okay. He's not going to let that finish, of course. Stats just staying out here. Worker count, by the way, 20 to 28.
There's one Oracle, but he's got his own Immortal now as well.
Yeah, he can do this too. He can warp in some Adepts over there, and I don't know if he's going to be ready, but I guess it's actually already blocked off. Another cancel there on the Shade.
I don't think there's much his Stats can do here, so I think he's just going to have to prop up, which is kind of what he has been doing, and think about expanding while having a soft contain on Neeb. But Neeb is now getting his own War Prism as well. Stats knows that this is pretty, it's quite an uncomfortable scenario for him. He's not down and out, even though he took so much economic damage. But it's just getting weird, Tasteless. This is a weird city that we're in right now.
Well, it's like there was a lot of potential damage on both sides, but it's completely slowed down to a halt here.
All right, and look at the tech now as well. I love this. The Robo Bay on the side of Neeb. He wants to get Disruptors because getting one Disruptor out would be fantastic against the units that Stats has. Stats knows that a Disruptor would be fantastic against everything he has, so he's going for the Stargate, and I think that's really cool stuff.
Okay, tagged there. And I guess the game just moves on. Stats is going to try to come in here and do some damage with this War Prism. New looking War Prism, by the way.
Yeah, it feels bigger, right?
Yeah,
like, is it just me?
It's like a War Prism that, yeah, it works out a lot. Look at that.
It's got big shoulders.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Instead of the Disruptor that I talked about, it's going to be a Colossus, and that's kind of cool because this Colossus can sort of serve as like an icebreaker. You know, you just run it forward, and it can break the force fields because obviously you don't have access to Archons if you only work with a one-base economy. Now Stats does finally find this Stargate, but I kind of like it from Neeb, and that makes the Stargate tech a little bit less impactful again, because obviously you can't build Tempest if you don't have a fleet beacon. I don't think that Stats really has money for a fleet beacon right now.
Okay. The the War Prism can stay here for as long as it wants until there's a Stargate unit to actually shoot it away. I like this.
It's massive.
This is where, you know, remember guys, the Robo units are basically like the most important units in the mid game and oftentimes the late game in PvP. So, you know, what started out with a pretty crafty rush here, he's really in an awkward position now, not having that Robo. That's going to be remade, but Neeb will just have more Robo units now in the long run. So this actually sucks for Stats.
Yep, it really does. Like, basically they both lost their proxy tech, right? But Neeb was already done with his Stargate, while Stats was definitely not done with his Robo. So while Neeb doesn't have to rebuild his Stargate, Stats does need to rebuild his Robo, which is what he does.
Right, yeah. One tech is far more essential than the other. And Neeb's going to be pushing out. Oh, Roddy.
it's
Roddy,
possible.
is Neeb going to be able to do this?
I mean, it's possible. It's very tricky, though, because his Colossus doesn't have thermal lens.
That's
so
true.
It's very important. Like, obviously, I know that he wants to break the force fields with the Colossus, but if you send it a bit too far forward, it can actually get picked off very quickly as well. But I look at that army of stats, and that is not an impressive army, Tasteless. Neeb's army is a lot better.
Oh, my God.
There's even a Desperation Void Ray on the way. That's when you know somebody's in trouble. These Adepts, they might do damage, but Neeb's army, I think, is powerful enough to potentially end this game and send Neeb into the semi-finals of GSL versus the
he's
world.
coming in now. The force fields go down. We see some pickups over here with stats. The Immortal coming in and out. The Phoenix picking up. We're seeing stats get pushed closer and closer into a corner now.
It's important to keep that Colossus alive. The Immortals are trying to target it. I love that Phoenix lifting the Immortal once again on the side of Neeb. Good
The
micro.
Immortals are solo. Good pot shot there on that one Immortal. It's coming in and out. Great shot again. Taking out the other Immortal. And so far, the Robo units are just outlasting him. And Stats is going up the ramp. I think that might be game here.
Wow, Neeb is so sick. Neeb did that incredibly well. Obviously, his army was strong, but the micro was really good. The Void Ray does show up, by the way, but even the Desperation Void Ray won't turn this one around.
Unbelievable. GG. Neeb defeats Stats, being our second player to go to the round of 4. And Neeb is unable to hide how happy he is about that. Roddy, if George Washington was alive today, he would have been so excited about his wooden teeth would have fallen right out, and then he would have ran up to Neeb and asked him to sign him. Unbelievable.
Amazing job. Neeb played very, very well with a lot of confidence. I think he played very smart. Elaser versus Neeb is going to be our semi-final. Who on earth would have predicted that in this tournament, Tasteless?
I can't believe this. It's like we're in